The night sky burned red. Clouds rolled across the alien horizon like smoke from an endless fire. The ground was cracked, sharp, and dry, like the bones of a dead world. Strange winds howled over the land, carrying the cries of creatures that hunted in the dark. In the middle of this wasteland, one figure lay broken. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the dim light of two moons. Her long hair, the color of night, was tangled and heavy with dust. She wore torn robes, once rich and noble, but now dirty and ruined. She was an alien woman, left alone by those who should have protected her. Her body was weak. Her lips were dry, her breath shallow. She tried to move, but every step felt like her bones were turning to glass. Still, she dragged herself across the ground, leaving a trail in the dust. Above her, dark shapes circled. Their wings stretched wide, their eyes sharp, glowing with hunger. They were not normal vultures. These were alien predators, bigger than horses, with long beaks made for tearing flesh. Their cries echoed across the sky. The woman knew what they wanted. They were waiting for her to stop moving, waiting for her final breath. But still, she crawled. She would not give them the pleasure of seeing her surrender. Her mind returned to the moment she was left behind. She remembered the cold eyes of her family, her own blood. They had looked at her as if she was nothing, weak, unworthy, a burden. They had abandoned her. Not by mistake, not by accident. They had left her here on purpose, as prey. Her chest tightened, not only from pain, but from the weight of betrayal. She wanted to scream, but her voice was gone. Only silence left her lips. The vultures moved closer. One swooped down, wings slicing through the air like knives. Its shadows swallowed her small body. She raised her arm to shield herself, but she had no strength left. The creature's beak opened, ready to strike, and then it froze. A sound cut through the wasteland. A sharp crack, loud, powerful, like thunder. But closer. The vulture screeched and jerked back into the air, its wing torn. It circled higher. Screaming in rage, the woman blinked, her vision blurred, but she saw something new. A figure far in the distance, standing tall against the burning horizon. It was not her kind, it was human. He held a weapon in his hands, smoke rising from its barrel. His eyes, sharp and steady, locked on the sky. His body was strong, covered in armor worn from battles. He moved like a hunter, but his face carried something else. Something her people never had. Compassion. The woman tried to understand. Would a stranger step into danger for her? She was nothing to him, just another alien. A weak one, too. The vultures were not afraid. They screamed louder, dozens of them circling. Their wings beat the air, shaking the dust below. One by one, they began to dive. The human did not step back. He raised his weapon again. Crack! Another fell. Crack! A third tumbled, wings broken. Still, more came. The alien woman lay frozen, unable to look away. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from shock. No one in her life had ever stood for her. No one had ever risked anything to save her. But this man, this stranger. Why? The human moved closer. He fired again, pushing the creatures back. His voice shouted over the storm, though she could not understand the words. His tone was strong, commanding, as if he was calling her to rise, but she could not. Her legs failed her. Her body refused to move. The shadows of the vultures grew darker. One swooped low again, breaking through his fire. Its claws stretched out, sharp as blades. It dove straight toward her chest. For a moment, she thought it was over. Her eyes closed, but again, the sound of thunder. The creature screamed, crashing to the ground, lifeless at her side. Her eyes opened wide. The human now stood only steps, a way weapon smoking in his hand. His eyes looked down at her not with disgust, not with coldness, not with the cruelty she had known all her life, but with something she had never seen before. A promise. The vultures circled once more. But they began to drift higher. Their cries grew distant. For the first time, fear entered their eyes. The human was not prey. It was something else. The woman's lips trembled. She wanted to speak, to ask him why. But no words came. Only silence. The human knelt beside her. Slowly, carefully, he reached out his hand. She stared at it. Suspicion filled her mind. Trust was poison. Trust was weakness. She had learned that lesson too well. And yet, something inside her whispered, "Take it." The wasteland grew quiet. Only the beating of her heart filled her ears. At last, her fingers moved. Shaking, weak, they touched his hand. In that single moment, something changed. The vultures screamed one last time and flew into the night. The storm winds carried them away. The woman lay on the broken earth, but for the first time, she did not feel alone. She did not know who this man was. She did not know why he had come, but she knew one truth. Her story was not over. The wind carried silence after the battle. The vultures had vanished into the blood-red sky, leaving only the echo of their cries. Dust drifted across the wasteland, settling over broken rocks and dry ground. The alien woman lay weak, her body trembling from exhaustion. Her silver skin was scratched, her breath shallow. Every muscle in her body begged her to sleep, but she could not. Her eyes were fixed on the stranger, the human who had saved her. He stood close now, his tall frame casting a shadow over her. His weapon hung by his side, still warm from fire. His armor was battered, marked with scars of old wars, but his stance was strong, unbroken. The woman did not know him. She had never seen a human before. Her people spoke of them as lesser creatures, simple and unworthy of the stars. Yet the one before her was not weak. He was powerful. And yet his eyes carried something strange. Something dangerous kindness. He crouched slowly, lowering himself to her level. His movements were careful, not rushed. Like a predator who did not want to scare wounded prey. His hand reached out once more, steady, patient. She flinched. Her heart hammered. Her people had taught her that hands were only for control, for chains, for punishment, for betrayal. A hand was never safe, but his hand did not strike. It waited. The woman turned her head away, closing her eyes. She would not accept pity, not from her own kind, and not from him. If he wished to kill her, let him do it quickly. At least it would be faster than the vultures. The human studied her. His eyes narrowed, as though he could see the storm inside her mind. Slowly, he pulled something from his pack. Not a weapon, not a tool of harm. Water. He placed the container near her lips. For a moment, she resisted. She wanted to deny him, to show that she did not need him. But her body betrayed her pride. Her throat burned like fire. Her tongue cracked with thirst. Her lips touched the edge. The first drop slid across her mouth, cool and alive. She drank. It was the sweetest taste she had ever known. When she finished, she opened her eyes. The human was still watching her, silent. He did not smile, but there was no cruelty in his gaze. Only steady patience. Her voice, broken and faint, finally escaped. Why? The word was simple, whispered like a ghost. She did not know if he understood. Her language was not his. But the question was in her eyes. Why save her? Why risk his life for nothing? The human tilted his head, then tapped his chest. With one hand, his voice came, low and calm. "No one left behind?" She stared. The words were strange, but their meaning cut through. No one left behind, her heart shook. Her own family had left her behind without a thought. Her own blood had treated her as nothing. Yet this stranger, this human, spoke as if even she had value. Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. But belief was dangerous. Trust could kill. The sound of shifting rocks broke her thoughts. She froze. The human rose quickly, weapon ready. His eyes scanned the wasteland. Something was moving. Far in the distance, shadows crawled over the hills. They were not vultures. The shapes were tall, walking on two legs. Armor glimmered under the moonlight. Her blood turned cold. Oh, she knew those shapes. She knew them too well. Her family. They had returned, not to save her, not to take her home. They had come to finish what they had started. The human did not know. He only saw new figures approaching, unknown and dangerous. His grip on the weapon tightened. He looked down at her once more, searching her face for answers. Her chest rose and fell fast. She wanted to speak, to tell him the truth, that the ones coming were not his enemies, but hers. That they were her own blood. That they had abandoned her to die. But the words caught in her throat. Shame and rage tangled inside her. She could not say it. She could not face it. The human did not wait. He stepped forward, standing tall between her and the coming shadows. His voice was low, steady, filled with iron. You are not alone. The woman's eyes widened. She had heard many voices in her life, voices of family, of power, of betrayal. But never had she heard one like his, a voice that promised protection. The figures in the distance grew closer. Their armor glowed in the moonlight, their weapons shining. The air grew heavier, filled with the scent of war. The woman's heart pounded. She did not know if the human could survive what was coming. She did not know if she wanted him to fight for her. But deep inside, a thought stirred. Perhaps fate had not abandoned her. Perhaps her story was only beginning. The wasteland trembled as the armored figures drew closer. Dust clouds rose around their feet, glowing faintly under the light of the moons. Their movements were cold, practiced, filled with purpose. They were hunters, and their prey was all ready. Marked, the alien woman's body stiffened. She knew those faces. She knew the cruel design of their armor, the sharp curve of their weapons, her own blood, her family, the ones who had abandoned her. They had not come to mourn her. They had not come to regret their crime. They had come to erase her. The human stood tall, weapon raised, his shadow stretching wide across the broken ground. His eyes did not leave the advancing soldiers. He did not know their history, did not know their betrayal. All he knew was that they were danger, and danger must be faced. The woman wanted to speak, to beg him to leave her and run, but her throat closed tight. Fear chained her tongue. Her body shook with the weight of helplessness. The first soldier shouted in their alien tongue, a harsh sound that cut like metal. Their voices carried no warmth, only command. The human did not move. His weapon gleamed under the moonlight. His breath was steady, as if carved from stone. The soldiers laughed. To them, he was nothing, just alone. Man standing against a family of warriors. They did not see him as a threat. That was their first mistake. The human fired. The wasteland shook with thunder. One soldier collapsed. Armor pierced, body lifeless on the ground. The others froze for a heartbeat. Then rage filled their eyes. With sharp cries, they rushed forward, weapons drawn. The air exploded with motion. Sparks of energy, sharp steel, heavy boots striking against stone. The human moved like a storm. His weapon cracked again and again, precise and ruthless. Each shot was a promise he would not allow them to pass, but they were many, and he was. One blade slashed through the air, grazing his armor, sparking against metal. He blocked, dodged, and countered. His fists struck with force, his movements honed by battles unknown to her. The alien woman watched in shock. She had never seen anyone fight like this. Her family, trained in power and cruelty, were forced back by this lone human. Yet he was not untouchable. A strike caught his side, tearing his armor. He staggered, blood staining the dust. Her heart froze. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run to him. But her body betrayed her, still too weak to rise. Another soldier raised a blade high, ready to end him. No. Her voice broke, barely a whisper. The blade fell, but the human twisted, catching the soldier's arm. With a roar, he drove his own weapon close, firing point blank. The enemy collapsed in silence. The woman's eyes widened. It was not only his strength that saved him. It was his refusal to surrender. His will was iron, his spirit unbroken. The battle raged on. Dust turned to smoke. Shadows clashed under the moons. The vultures high above circled once more, their cries echoing across the wasteland as if they sensed blood. But the human did not falter. His weapon emptied, but he did not stop. He struck with his fists, with his blade, with every ounce of strength he had. Each enemy that fell was another line drawn in the dirt. You are not alone. His voice echoed in her mind. Her chest burned. For the first time, she felt something she had never known before. Hope, with trembling hands. She reached for the broken staff lying near her. It was small, weak, compared to the weapons around her, but it was something. Her fingers tightened around it. Her body screamed with pain, but her spirit pushed her forward. Slowly, painfully. She rose to her feet. Her family's eyes widened in shock. They had left her to die. She was supposed to be nothing. But here she was, standing once more. The human glanced back, just for a moment. His eyes met hers. And in that single look, a silent promise passed between them. They would fight, together. A soldier rushed at her. She lifted the staff, clumsy but determined. She struck with all her strength. The weapon cracked against armor. It was not strong enough to kill, but strong enough to show that she was not broken. The human moved in beside her, finishing the fight with brutal precision. The wasteland echoed with screams, thunder, and steel. But the tide was turning. One by one, the soldiers fell. The dust swallowed their bodies. The night consumed their cries. When the last stood, trembling, the human stepped forward. His voice was low, filled with finality. Though the woman did not know the words, she knew the meaning. Leave. The soldier's eyes burned with fury, but fear won. He turned and fled into the night. Silence returned. The woman collapsed to her knees, the broken staff falling from her hands. Her body trembled, but her spirit burned with fire. She looked at the human, chest heaving, sweat on his brow, blood on his armor. He had saved her, not once, not twice, but again and again, and now, for the first time in her life. She did not feel abandoned. She felt chosen. The battlefield was quiet at last. Dust drifted through the air like ash after fire. The broken bodies of soldiers lay scattered across the wasteland, their armor cracked, their weapons silent. The vultures circled far above but did not dare to descend. The human stood still, chest rising and falling with heavy breath. His weapon hung loosely at his side, his armor torn and stained with blood. Yet his eyes were steady. He was not broken. Beside him, the alien woman knelt on the ground. Her silver skin was smeared with dirt, her hands shaking as she clutched the cracked staff. She had stood with him, if only for a moment. And in that moment, something had changed inside her. But now that the storm of battle had passed, the storm inside her heart grew stronger. She looked at the man, the stranger, who had fought for her, bled for her, protected her as if her life had value. Why would he do this? She was not his blood. She was not his kind. She was nothing to him. Her voice, soft and trembling, slipped into the air. Why the human looked down at her. He could not understand her words, but he seemed to feel their weight. His brow furrowed. He wiped the blood from his face with the back of his hand, then crouched low beside her. His hand touched his chest again, like before. His voice was low, steady, no one left behind. She stared at him, her heart twisting. Those words again. She wanted to reject them, to throw them away. But they burned inside her. Her family had left her behind. Her people had abandoned her without a thought. To them, she had no worth. She was a burden, a weakness, something to be discarded. And yet this man, this human, spoke as if she mattered. Her chest grew tight. Rage and sorrow tangled inside her. She wanted to scream, to tell him he was wrong, that she was nothing, that saving her was a mistake. But her voice broke before it reached her lips. She turned her face away, hiding her tears in the dust. The human did not push her. He sat in silence beside her, his presence solid like a stone in the storm. Minutes passed. The moons drifted higher in the sky. The wasteland was still, at last. She whispered, more to herself than to him. They were my family. Her voice cracked on the word, family. It tasted like poison. The human tilted his head as if he understood the pain in her tone, if not the language itself. His gaze softened. He reached slowly, not to take her hand this time, but to touch the broken staff lying across her knees. He lifted it gently, studying the crack that ran down its side. Then he pressed it back into her grip, closing her fingers around it. The message was clear. You are not broken. Her chest shook. She wanted to believe him, but the memories were heavy. She saw again the faces of those who abandoned her, the cold eyes. The silent judgment, the way they turned away without a word. She had begged them not to leave. She had cried out, but they had walked away. Why? She whispered again, this time to the empty night. The human answered in his own way. He touched his chest once more, then pointed at her. His words were simple, his tone steady. Life is worth saving. Her breath caught. Life is worth saving. Her people had never spoken like that. To them, worth was measured by power, by usefulness, by bloodline. To them, she had been worthless. But this man, this stranger, saw something else. The silence stretched between them, heavy but not empty. The woman's trembling began to still. Her tears dried in the wind. For the first time, she felt the faint spark of something new, not trust, not yet, but the beginning of it. Then, a sound. The human rose quickly, weapon ready, eyes sharp. The woman's breath caught, fear flooding back. In the distance, shadows moved once more. Not soldiers this time, not family, something else. Something worse. The ground shivered beneath their feet. The air grew colder. A howl, deep and unnatural, rolled across the wasteland. The human's grip tightened. The woman's body froze. Her family had been cruel, but the wasteland was crueler still, and their struggle was far from over. The howl in the distance faded, leaving only silence again. The human kept his weapon raised, eyes sharp, scanning the wasteland for the source. But nothing came. Only shadows. Only echoes. The alien woman's body trembled, though not from the sound. Her mind was elsewhere, pulled into memories she had tried to bury. The man's words, life is worth saving, still burned inside her. And yet, the pain of her past pressed harder. Her chest tightened. She closed her eyes, and the past returned. The world had been different then. Not broken wastelands, not silence and vultures. Her people lived in great halls, towers of silver, that touched the clouds. She had walked those halls once, proud and certain she belonged. But she remembered their eyes, always watching her, always judging. "You are weak," her brother's voice had said. "Cold, sharp, like a blade without mercy. You cannot fight." Her sister had whispered, her lips curved in scorn. Her father had not spoken at all. He had only looked at her, with disappointment heavy enough to crush her spirit. She had tried, she had tried. She had bled to prove herself. But every attempt ended the same. She was slower, weaker, softer than the others. And to them, that was unforgivable. The day of betrayal had been quiet. Too quiet, they had taken her to the edge of the wasteland, saying little. She remembered the shifting of their armor, the cold gleam in their eyes. She had followed, not knowing. Not yet. When they stopped, she saw the vultures circling in the sky above. Her heart began to race. "Why here?" she had asked. Her voice had been small. Her father had turned, his eyes colder than stone. "You are no longer one of us." The words struck harder than any blade. Her brother pushed her forward, toward the broken rocks. "Let the scavengers have you. At least then, your existence will serve a purpose." Her knees had buckled. She had begged. She had cried. She had reached for her mother's hand, but her mother pulled away. They left her there, alone. The vultures circled. Their footsteps faded. Her screams followed them into the wind, but none of them turned back. Not once. Her eyes opened again. The wasteland returned, harsh and empty. Her chest burned with the memory. Her hands shook, gripping the cracked staff until her knuckles were white. The human stood nearby, still alert, watching the horizon. He had not seen her past, but somehow she felt he understood. His eyes carried no judgment, no scorn, only patience. Her voice cracked through the silence. "They left me. My blood. My family." The human turned, his eyes meeting hers. "They called me weak, worthless." Her voice trembled, but she forced the words out. "They gave me to the vultures, alike. I was nothing." Her body shook with rage and shame. She hated the weakness in her tone, the tears that slipped down her cheeks. But the truth would no longer stay buried. The human said nothing at first. He lowered his weapon and walked closer. Slowly, carefully, he knelt in front of her. His gaze was steady, his presence unshakable. He touched his chest again. His words were calm, each one like stone on the ground. "You are not nothing." Her breath caught. For so long she had believed the lie her family told her, that she was useless, empty, without worth. She had carried their betrayal like chains around her soul. But this man, this stranger, this human spoke as if her life had meaning, as if her existence itself was enough. Her heart ached. She wanted to believe him, but belief was dangerous. Belief had betrayed her before. Her hands trembled. She whispered, "What if they come again? What if they try to finish it?" The human's jaw tightened. He looked toward the horizon, where the shadows had moved before. His voice was low, but unshakable. "Then we fight." The woman's eyes widened. She searched his face for doubt. For hesitation, there was none. He was not her blood. He was not her kind. But in that moment, he was more than family. The wasteland was silent again. But inside her, the storm raged less. A small flame burned where once there had been only ashes. Her story was not over. And this time, she would not face it alone. The wasteland slept in silence, but the silence did not last. The ground trembled again, faint at first, then stronger with every step that approached. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of steel and fire. The alien woman's eyes widened. She knew this feeling. She had lived under it her whole life. Her family was coming. The human stood at her side, weapon raised, eyes locked on the horizon. The moons cast long shadows as the figures appeared. Dark armor gleamed, blades shone, and cruel eyes lit the night. This time they did not come as hunters. They came as executioners. Her heart pounded. Her breath quickened. Old fear clawed its way back into her chest, whispering the same words her family had always told her. You are weak. You are worthless. You do not belong. But then she felt it his. Presence beside her, the human stance was solid, unshaken. He looked at the enemy with no fear, as if the world itself could rise against him and still he would stand. She drew a long breath. Her brother stepped forward. Eyes sharp, voice filled with venom. So, you crawl back from death, little sister, still clinging to life like a parasite. The words cut deep, but not as they once had. Not with the human beside her. Her brother sneered at the man. And this creature defends you. A human. Pathetic. The human did not answer with words. Its weapon cracked with thunder. One of the armored soldiers fell instantly. Lifeless in the dust, the family's laughter vanished. The battle began. Steel clashed against fire. Shouts tore through the night. The wasteland became a storm of dust, sparks, and blood. The human fought, like he had in every battle before, precise, unbroken. His weapon roared, his fist struck, his blade carved through armor. He was one man against many, yet he stood like an army. But this fight was not his alone. The alien woman rose, her body trembling, but her spirit burning. She gripped the broken staff once more. Her knees threatened to give. Her arms ached with pain. Yet she stepped forward, standing not behind him, but beside him. Her brother saw her and laughed. You fight. You could not even stand without him. Her chest tightened. Fear whispered again. But then she remembered no one left behind. You are not nothing. The words lit a fire inside her when her brother charged. Blade high, she did not fall back. She lifted her staff and blocked. The force sent pain through her arms, but she did not break. She struck back, clumsy but fierce, driving him away for the first time in her life. Shock filled his eyes. The human moved beside her, striking down another enemy. For a heartbeat, their eyes met. And in that look, she understood this was not just his fight, it was hers too. Together, they became something her family could not understand. Strength born not of blood, but of choice. The battle raged. Sister's blade cut the air, but the woman ducked low and struck with her staff, knocking her off balance. Another soldier lunged, but the human's weapon fired, dropping him before he could reach them. Dust filled the air. Cries echoed. The moons bore witness as betrayal met resistance at last. Only her brother remained, armor cracked, rage burning in his eyes. He circled her, blade gleaming with deadly promise. You should have died, he spat. You should have been nothing. The woman's grip tightened on the staff. Her voice was low, but steady. I was nothing, because you told me I was, not anymore. He roared and charged. The clash shook the air. His blade struck again and again, each blow heavier than the last. She staggered, her arms screaming with pain. But she did not fall. Not this time. The human stood ready to strike, but she raised a hand to stop him. This fight, this final strike had to be hers, Her brother raised his blade high, a killing blow. She screamed, lifting the broken staff with both hands. With all her strength, all her rage, all her fire, she struck. The staff cracked against his chest, shattering in two. The force drove him back, stumbling. His blade slipped from his hands, crashing into the dust. For the first time, he looked at her not with scorn, but with fear. The woman stood tall, broken weapon in her grip, breath heavy but spirit unshaken. Her voice cut through the silence. "You left me to die, but I live." Her brother's eyes narrowed, hate burning. But he did not move. Slowly, he stepped back into the shadows. Then, like the coward he was, he fled. The wasteland fell silent once more. The human walked to her side, his weapon lowered. His eyes, steady as ever, met hers. She dropped the broken staff, her hands trembling. But her spirit had never been stronger. For the first time in her life, she had stood against them. And for the first time, they had fallen back. The battlefield was quiet again. No blades clashed. No shouts filled the night. Only the soft wind moved across the broken wasteland, carrying the smell of blood and dust. The alien woman stood tall, her breath heavy, her body trembling, but her spirit unbroken. The broken staff hung loosely in her hands, cracked in two, but it felt lighter now. It was no longer a symbol of weakness. It was proof she had stood. Her brother was gone, his shadow swallowed by the night. The family that had abandoned her was broken, scattered, and for the first time, powerless against her. She turned slowly. Her eyes found the human. He stood near, weapon lowered, armor scarred, blood painting his side. He had fought like a storm, but now he was still. His gaze was steady, locked on her as if he had been waiting for this moment, not the battle, but the choice that would come after. For a long time, she said nothing. Her chest rose and fell, her mind torn between pain and hope. Her voice was quiet when it came. All my life, they told me I was nothing, and I believed them. The human listened, silent. Her hands shook as she dropped the broken staff onto the dust. The sound was small, but in her heart, it was louder than thunder. A chain-breaking daughter eyes lifted to his. "But you saw me. You fought for me. Why?" The human touched his chest again, as he always did when words were too small. His voice was calm, steady, carrying weight that cut through the silence. No one left behind. The woman's lips trembled. She wanted to weep, not from sorrow this time, but from something strange. Something she had not felt in so long warmth. She whispered, "I was left behind." The human stepped closer. His eyes did not leave hers. His voice was low but strong. "Not anymore." The words struck deeper than any blade. Her heart shook. She had carried her family's betrayal like chains for so long. But now, for the first time, she felt them fall away. She was no longer the abandoned child, no longer the weak sister, no longer the prey left for vultures. She was alive, and she had been saved not by her own blood, but by someone who owed her nothing. The wind carried silence between them, but it was not empty silence. It was peace. The human turned his gaze to the horizon. The wasteland stretched on, endless, cruel, but also full of paths unseen. He gestured with his hand, inviting her to walk beside him. She hesitated. Her people had taught her that walking with others only led to betrayal. That trust was a trap, family a chain. But then she remembered the vultures, the battle, the words. "You are not nothing." No one left behind. Her steps were slow, but she moved toward him. The dust shifted under her feet. When she reached his side, he did not look down at her with pity. He only nodded, as if it was the most natural thing in the World that she should stand there, not behind him, not beneath him, beside him. They began to walk. The wasteland stretched before them, broken and endless. But it no longer felt like a prison. For the first time, she felt that her story was not an ending, but a beginning. The vultures circled far above, their cries sharp in the night, but they no longer filled her with fear. Let them circle. Let them watch. She was not their prey anymore. Her eyes turned to the human. His steps were steady, his shoulders unshaken. He did not speak, but he did not need to. His presence was enough. Her voice, quiet but firm, broke the silence. My family gave me to death, but you gave me life. The human glanced at her, his lips tightening into something close to a smile. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of a promise. Sometimes, family is chosen. Her heart stilled. Family, a word that once poisoned her, now tasted new, alive. Not by blood, not by birth, but by choice. The night stretched long, the horizon endless. But she no longer feared it. For the first time, she was not alone. For the first time, she was free, and as the moons burned above and the wastelands stretched before them, she knew a truth her family had never understood. Salvation does not always come from those who share your blood. Sometimes it comes from the ones you never expected.